I would like to invite a lady who will be doing the opening keynote for us, but let me tell you all a bit about her. Well, the ecosystem of India startups had a rather dry year for the most of 2016, the rise of newer investors through mid-2017. That is providing the near future, and it is going to be the right one. The future can be changed by our combined efforts. The recent efforts made by the Indian government have allowed for a huge influx of foreign investors in the Indian market, greatly benefiting the new and small startups in India. The future has now started to look certain for the entire ecosystem. Innovation, long-term vision, and fundamental value for the basics to have to secure the future of startups. Innovation and vision comes with spirituality, and a live example is Pujya Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswatiji, who will enlighten us with her knowledge ranging from conscious business to science and spirituality to sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Pujya Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswatiji on stage.
This feels a little better. It's such a wonderful, wonderful joy and a wonderful honor to be with all of you here today. You really are the youth. You are the GDP of India. As Shweta Shalini said, 65% of India is young, is youth. And that for me is what is so exciting. And you all here are the ones who are building, not the future, but you're building the present. And it's for you that I've come. Really, if this were an event of, middle-aged startup people, जब गंगा किनारे में रह रही हूँ तो मुंबई आने का मतलब ज़्यादा ऐसे शौक तो नहीं है, but आप लोगों के लिए, when I found out it was all of my young brothers and sisters who were coming together for this startup summit, then I said absolutely मैं तो जरूर आऊँगी, उन्हीं के साथ मैं थोड़ा सा समय के लिए बैठ जाऊँगी. So I'm really, really happy to be here with all of you, and especially to see the way that all of you are so filled with enthusiasm and with excitement and with innovation and inspiration. But one thing is very, very important that we have to remember. Is young dil India ko Thang dil India mat bana. And that's what your role is as the young dil India, to take that young dil without turning it into Thang dil. And how can we do that? And that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. And my goal is going to be to not just talk to you the whole time, but actually to spend a little bit of time speaking, and then if there is time, to open it up also for any kinds of questions and answers and interaction. Because our goal of being here, all of the speakers, as we've all just been sitting together in the speakers lounge, all of our goal is to be here for you, because you are creating India. So the first thing that I wanted to speak about that I think is really important is we're talking about startups, right? So starting is great, but where are we going? And before we can emphasize startup, before we can talk about investing in startup, we have to have some concept of where exactly are we going? Once we've started, where do we want to be? If you walk into a train station or a bus station or an airport, and you walk up to the counter and you say, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'd like a first-class ticket," Or excuse me, sir, I'd like a first class ticket or second class ticket or whatever you're buying. What's the first thing they're going to ask you? Where are you going, right? They cannot sell you a ticket unless you know where you're going. And so in this startup world, we've got this garden of India, this lush, fertile soil of India that we're planting the seeds of startup in. But we have to understand, what are we planting? It's not koi bhi beej dalo. Where do we want to end up? What kind of plants, what kind of trees, what kind of flowers do we want to have in the garden of India? Mahatma Gandhi ji said so beautifully, he said, what's the point of running so fast when we're running in the wrong direction? And so along with speed, these days everyone is crazy for speed, faster, faster internet, faster, faster this. And technology gives us the speed. But if we don't know where we're going, then that speed is of no use. So along with the speed, we have to have direction. When they gave the title, for the keynote talk, and they said betting on startup India. Well, if we're going to bet on something, we have to make sure that yes, it's got speed, but also yes, it's got direction. If you go to a horse race and you bet on the fastest horse in the race, and this horse gallops its way off the track and out of the arena, it's not going to win the race. All the speed can't help it if there isn't direction. And so the technology gives us the speed, but where does the direction come from? And that's where our culture comes in. That's where values come in. That's where ethics come in. That's when we talk about sanskriti and sanskaras. We talk about the importance of shiksha, but shiksha ke saath sanskar. Internet ke saath saath internet. Where is our direction? Technology has brought the world to our fingertips, but it has hypnotized us into forgetting that there is a world beyond our fingertips. And our culture is one that reminds us, Vasudev Kutumbakam, right? The world is a family, Vasudev Kutumbakam. That's this culture. And that becomes our direction. And so as we're moving in our startups, we have to ask ourselves, am I starting up something that is going to grow into a present and a future that really understands the world? The world is a family. So it's not about starting up something that's going to propel me ahead, put money in my pocket at the expense of my sisters and brothers of every race, every religion, every species. That's going to destroy our air, our land, our water. That's going to steal the future out of the hands of our children tomorrow. That's not what we're looking to start up. We have to be careful we don't start up something that ends up finishing us, or finishing our children or our grandchildren. So when we talk about invest in India, we really have to ask ourselves, what's the India we're looking to invest in? Are we looking to invest in an India that, as my sister Shwetaji was saying, is aping the West? That's aping a country where I come from, where the rich just get richer and the poor keep suffering? Is that the India we're looking to invest in? Are we looking to invest in an India where our industry and our waste pollute our soil and our air and our water in such a way that only people who have the luxury to buy, face masks and water purifiers and air purifiers and imported produce are able to survive? No, that's not the India that we're wanting to start up. That's not the India we're investing in. The India we're investing in, this is the model of sabke saath, sabka vikas. And in that sub, it's not just people who I think are like me. That sub does not just mean my family, doesn't mean my neighborhood, doesn't mean my community, doesn't mean my caste, doesn't mean my color. Usi sab mein, it's everyone. There's a great story that I love of 3 men who are stranded on a boat in the middle of the ocean. And they start to fight. Okay, we all know that where there's stress and there's tension, we tend to take it out on the people around us. So the 3 men in the boat start to fight amongst themselves. And they finally decide, all right, the only way for us to survive on this boat is to divide it into 3 equal portions. So I'll have my portion, you have yours, you have yours. Then at least come se come, we won't talk to each other, we don't have to look at each other, we can each be on our own part. And so they draw these imaginary lines. They weren't, stranded in the ocean with duct tape. So they draw imaginary lines down the boat, and each man has his own 1/3. And one day, 2 of the men look over and they notice that a leak has sprung in the 3rd man's part of the boat. And they say, stop it up, do something, the boat's leaking. We're all gonna drown, this boat's gonna sink. And the 3rd man says, oh, don't worry. He says, it's only leaking in my part of the boat. Now, right, we all know intuitively, the leak in any part of the boat is gonna bring the whole thing down. But that's our world. That's our world. And if any part of our boat is leaking, whether it's a certain species, whether it's the air, whether it's the water, whether it's people of a certain color, people of a certain caste, people of a certain religion, if anywhere that boat is leaking, we're all going down. And so invest in India is in India. And this is the beauty of India. This is the culture of India. This is the culture that has given us Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Invest in India is an India where the whole boat stays afloat. And where by staying afloat, we then give that message to the world. What India has to offer the world is not just technology. It's not just science. But what India has to offer the world is a teaching and a culture and a heritage and a tradition that includes all of this. And so it's crucial not to lose this in our running after more and more money and higher posts and higher degrees. It's important to remind ourselves that this is a culture that asks not what for me, but what through me? What through me? And that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. And I love the subheading of Meet the Giants, right? Connect the wires, meet the giants, connect the wires. Fire the networks. It reminded me, I come from California, where we've got the most beautiful trees called the redwood trees. And the redwood forest, when I saw the Meet the Giants, here of course it's talking about people, but in California the redwoods are referred to as the giants. They're hundreds and hundreds of year-old trees that grow taller than 10, 15, 20, 25-story buildings. Incredible trees. But here's what I love about them and what this subheading reminded me. What we all know is that in order for a tree to grow high, its roots have to be deep, right? That's just biology. But the redwoods actually, the tallest trees, some of the oldest trees in the world who have withstood everything, how do they survive? Not with the deepest roots, but with roots that are interconnected one to the other, So you could have hundreds and hundreds of acres of a redwood forest. And all of these roots are interconnected and interlinked and interlocked. And that connection is actually what makes us strong. This is not me succeeding despite you. This is not me pushing you out of the way. This is how can we together, connected to each other, connected to the culture, connected to the world, how can we really start India? And that's what's needed, that connection. Another of my favorite stories, this one's actually more of a joke, but I love it. It's a joke of a man who goes to the doctor, and he says to the doctor, "Doctor, something is very wrong with me. Whatever I touch, it hurts. When I touch my head, it hurts. I touch my stomach, it hurts. I touch my back, it hurts." So the doctor was surprised, because typically people have one complaint. And so he runs every test and every scan. And at the end, he calls the man in and he says, "The good news is, there's nothing wrong with your head, your stomach, your back. Bad news is, your finger's broken. Since your finger is broken, naturally, whatever you touch, it hurts. But it hurts not because the problem is in your head or your back or your stomach, but because the bones in the finger are broken. And in our lives hurt. Our lives hurt. I live in Rishikesh, as she mentioned, and on the banks of Ganga at Parmarth Niketan, and every day people come to us, people from all over the world, of every walk of life, of every culture. And people's lives hurt. Doesn't matter how much you own. Doesn't matter how much you make. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are. It doesn't matter what school your kids go to. It doesn't matter how fair your skin is. It doesn't matter what's in your bank account. It doesn't matter what area of town your house is. It doesn't matter what magazine your face is on the cover of. Lives hurt. We think if we don't have those things, we think, if I could be the one whose face was on the cover of that magazine. If I could be the one with my house in that area of town. But even with all of that, people's lives hurt. And they hurt because we're disconnected. I'll tell you a true story. I've been in India now 21 years. And after I had first come, I came having no intention of staying, no awareness that I was going to stay. I was in the midst of a PhD program and had such a powerful experience standing on the banks of the Ganga River in Rishikesh. And after I had been in India maybe a year and a half, I had seen something that I knew was magic. In the eyes of the children, the eyes of the people. I had grown up in a world where people have everything except deep joy, except deep peace, except meaning in life. And here was people who had nothing. But they were so connected. You ask anybody, you ask these ladies who are walking through the Himalayas with, pounds of firewood on their head to go back home and cook the evening meal. And you say, "Aap kaise hain?" And she says, "Sab Bhagwan ki kripa." Right? Kuch bhi nahi unke paas. You ask the sweeper on the streets of Rishikesh, "How are you?" He says, "Sab Ma Ganga ki kripa." And in the world I came from, you ask most people, "How are you?" and what you get is a litany of everything that's wrong. This hurts, that hurts, this problem, that problem. And it's not, of course, that our problems go away if we just could be the lady with the firewood on our head, or if we just could be the sweeper in Rishikesh. But what they have that I realized was the key is this connection. And that's why I love the joke about the broken finger, because as we move through the world with an internal connection that's broken, our lives fail. Regardless of what we earn, regardless of what we achieve, regardless of where we are. And if that connection is set, it's not that we're inoculated somehow against the ups and downs of life. They come, of course. You're going to try and try and try and try. And you'll fail sometimes, and you'll succeed sometimes, and you'll take 2 steps forward, and you'll take some steps back. But at least, when that connection is there, life doesn't hurt. After I had been here, as I was saying, after I'd been here for about a year and a half, I was back in LA, and I wanted to do a little scientific experiment. My academic background is science, and I love science, so I thought, Chilla, let me do a little experiment. And I spoke with about 10 different people I knew well, people who were close friends or family members, and they were all people who were at the absolute highest of their sphere. So a billionaire CEO of a top company, a tenured professor at Stanford, a famous actress in Hollywood, a famous singer, somebody who starts, as the center for the LA Lakers. So all of the different areas, business, academia, Hollywood, whatever. And I asked them all one question. In the midst of a longer, chatting, how are you conversation. But the one question was, are you happy? Are you happy? And what I got was one of 2 answers. Either I would be happy if, and fill in the blank, the blanks vary, but I would be happy if my husband worked a little bit less, I could lose the 10 pounds I gained over the holiday season, I could just get this cart, or there weren't so much traffic, or interest rates this, mortgage rates that, whatever. Or I will be happy when the kids grow up and move out of the house, I get this raise I want, I get the promotion, I finally have this happen, we acquire this other company, this merger goes through, I lose the 10 pounds, whatever it may be. But every one of them gave me either I will be happy when, or I would be happy if. And I share this with my young brothers and sisters today. Because do not think that by filling your shelf with lots and lots of possessions and medals and awards and riches, that yourself is going to feel any fuller. We fill our shelves, but we forget to stay connected with the self. And this is crucial. It's crucial, of course, for our own happiness, but it's also crucial even just from a business perspective. Because only when you're connected do you know what the world needs. Because that's what we need from you. We don't need you to just invent longer selfie sticks. Right? That's not what the world needs. I'm not saying people wouldn't buy them. I'm sure there's a market for it. But that's not what our world needs. And in order for you to supply, not to the demand, but to the need, you've got to be connected. Because we're not looking for more and more people to just supply to the demand that we've artificially created. The demand for more and more and more and fuller shelves. We're looking for people to supply to the need. And that's what India needs. And so for that, you've got to stay connected. You've got to be connected to yourself, to your culture, to the country, to that whole Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. will come to the global family. And only then can you respond to what's needed. And the good news is, and I was just sitting in the speaker's lounge with so many, investors and experts, not just from India, but from abroad. That's actually what sells. That's what works. That's what success is. I'm not speaking just about spiritual success. On a financial level, on a business level, on a value level. This is what works. And the very last point that I want to share with you today, on that same topic, is the importance of all of you to have courage with your connection. So the connection is crucial, and then to have courage. I know in India, even with 65% youth, it's still very hard to get the older generation to have faith in you. We see this all over the world. In all of the communities, we're always saying, put the youth in charge, give the reins in the hands of the youth. And always, the older generation is like, pata nahi hai, kya karenge, un logon ko kuch pata nahi hai. We're like, nahi, unko sab pata hai. They are the ones who know. Because they are the ones who are open and connected to the world. But this takes courage, and it takes courage to break away from a status quo in India that up until recently has been develop in the same model as the West, in the same model as the countries that ruined the air, that ruined the water, that ruined the soil. That's what the model has been up until recently. That's been the global development model. Fossil fuels, factories. But the model that we need today is a completely different model. And this is a model that's going to take courage for all of you to step into. Because your elders may say to you, nay. Usse kuch nahi hoga, tumhe malum nahi hai, tumhare pas ka nahi hai, tum khar nahi paoge. This is where you need the courage. And here's what I love about courage that I learned recently. The root of the word courage is the same root as the word for heart. In French, the word for heart is cœur. And the same root that gives us cœur as heart is the same root that gives us the word courage. And so what courage refers to is moving through the world with an open heart. That's thinking again, not what for me, but what through me. And with that open heart, you will really be able to change not just India, but the world. And I just saw this. We were in Beverly Hills a couple of years ago. My guru, Pujya Swamiji, and I, we were there at someone's house, and they had called in a friend of theirs who was a diamond merchant from Gujarat, but living in Los Angeles. And he says to Pujya Swamiji, he says, I need you to help me. I need you to do something. Talk to my son. He's gone crazy. He doesn't want to go into the business. Main koshish karke thak gaye. Talk some sense into this kid. We've got this huge international diamond business. He doesn't want to do it. He's got some crazy idea. Talk some sense into it. So Swamiji says, of course, yeah, bulala, let's go call him. So the boy comes, a young guy, early 20s, and he says, I don't want to do my father's business. He said, I've heard of a business. I don't know much about it, but I've heard of it. And it takes agriculture waste, all the stuff that the farmers are burning in Punjab, that are burning in Haryana, that's causing all the pollution in Delhi every winter, that takes agriculture waste and turns it into plywood building material. Waterproof, earthquake-proof, fireproof. Very, very inexpensive. Swamiji says to him, do this. He says, you are the diamond. Forget the diamond business. You're creating your own diamonds. Now, 2 years later, barely 3 years later, they're opening their first factory in Uttarakhand, bringing all of this agriculture waste from the farms, from the fields, giving money to the farmers who otherwise end up having to burn it, providing a low-cost, easy material for building houses for poor people. Now the father, of course, has also abandoned the diamond business. He's gone into this business with the son. But I share this one story with you because it takes courage. It takes courage to do something like that rather than your father's diamond business. But if you have that courage, with the open heart that's connected to the world, you will be able to change that world. And we, whether it's investors, whether it's mentors, whether it's whatever role we play, we are here for you. And we are all so excited to be here with you. And so as you start up this Startup India, use us. Use us in whatever way we can help, guide you, lead you, encourage, give, whatever you need. We are here for you, and you are not the next generation, but the now generation.